Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at DiabloInkGamers.com. I am your host, Flux, and I'm joined by Master X.
Hello.
Who I'll probably start calling Master P very shortly.
Mm-hmm.
And by AdAstra.
Hello, hello.
Also known as Short Notice. Indiana Jones sidekick. And we are recording this on a Monday night on Veterans Day or possibly Memorial Day. I'm not sure which. Which one is it, by the way?
Memorial Day?
Yeah, Memorial
Day. Okay, and we should probably do some long soliloquy about dead hardcore characters, but that would blaspheme the actual dead people in foreign wars, and we wouldn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't. Plus, neither of you guys play hardcore anyway, do you?
No.
I did for a while, but I've given up.
You might as well be a filthy casual. You don't play hardcore.
I am a filthy casual.
And you divide all your Paragon levels by 3 to get an accurate measurement. Exactly. So, we have some topics tonight. The real money trading hackers that got busted, the stash for cash in China that everybody appears to want in the U.S. and Europe. WoW selfies, just to make fun of World of Warcraft players, because we never do that often enough. It's been several podcasts since then.
Yeah.
I have some theories about some funny stuff about legendary items that may or may not exist. But to start off with, we'll get to some recent play stuff in a minute, but you said you wanted to indulge in some of the blackest heresy, Master X.
Yes, I did.
You wanted to praise that which must not be spoken of, so please go ahead.
So, I listened to all the podcasts since I found them. I listened to all of them, even the ones I'm in, because I can't always absorb all the information the other guests say, and I like to use that information as I play. And I was looking at the last one I was in, and there was a comment that said, I am boring. And so, to make sure you don't kick me off the podcast, which would just break my little black heart, I have to say something controversial and just awful to keep from being boring, and that is, Jay Wilson is the best thing that ever happened to Diablo, and I want to have his babies.
I'm not sure it's biologically possible, but assuming it was. So are you saying when Jay Wilson quit it was the best thing, or the other part of Jay Wilson?
The other part of Jay Wilson. That way you don't kick me off the podcast. Or if you do, it's because I said nice things about Nazis. I mean Jay Wilson.
Okay, I'm not sure where that went. Do you have any follow-up there, AdAstra?
Well, I think he's accomplished his goals. He's said something controversial, so you can no longer say that that he's dull.
Victory.
So now that there'll be comments on the podcast. That guy was that boring guy said something about Jay Wilson. He kick him off the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of the first things to realize about the internet is you never read the comments when they involve you.
Oh, I know. I just figured it would be interesting to start off with a Jay Wilson joke.
Well, it's all downhill from here.
Yes.
Do you have any Jay Wilson jokes, AdAstra?
No. Actually, I had to go and do some research on the whole Jay Wilson controversy because there were so many jokes last time, and I just ended up backtracking and going, especially what was it? There was an interview on the website for one of the other original Diablo 2 game designers, and he's at the point where he doesn't hold any ill will towards. He even said that he thinks the game's in a good place, so. Kind of focus on that. It was a pretty interesting interview. What was it? I
assume that was Dave Brevik.
Dave Brevik, yeah. I like that.
Mm-hmm. He was doing the Marvel Heroes game now.
Yeah, that was interesting. That whole bit.
Yeah, Dave's an interesting guy. He's a little. I've talked to him a few times at Blizzard North back in the old days, and he's like super. Of course, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He's like the prototypical genius game programmer, designer who you're not sure about the people skills. Like he's totally focused on the game and he can totally be involved in that. And when you're talking to him, you're not quite sure that he's actually paying attention to anything you're saying, which is a common experience for me being a podcast host. But he just seems like he's thinking deeply about something in the game at the same time, and maybe you ask him a game comment, and you get the sense that he's kind of translating all of his thoughts from Klingon. to like something that mortals can understand.
Or Old Elvish or something.
Yeah, like he's just so. That would be like if you were asking a guy, like if you just saw the Hobbit movie, and you asked someone a question and they were translating their answer back from Old Elvish and that kind of thing. Like they know the material so much better than anybody else that it's almost like they have to try to figure out how to speak this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like trying to explain something about a computer to your parents, basically.
Oh, God.
You know, and they're like, so if I push the button, does it make it work? It's like, no, Mom. There's like other things involved, but that's kind of how you get the feeling of talking to Dave Brevik about game design. So it's almost like he's so much deeper into it that you can't even like understand what he's saying, or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean he was even saying like his relationship, his marriage was on the rocks because he just was so engrossed in the production of Diablo 2.
Mm.
So I'm sure it like has him locked away, constantly working away.
And mini games since then. So
yeah.
So kind of related to the Jay Wilson joke there. I don't know if you guys have people like this as well, but I have friends who I know online and even in real life who were big fans of Diablo and Diablo 1 back forever ago, Diablo 2.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah.
And they were all excited for Diablo 3, and they played it for a month and thought it sucked and never played it since.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends like that too.
And obviously there's a lot of people like that on the internet. I mean, you guys remember the many months of Diablo 3, all these comments, oh, Path of Exile is so much better, or, Diablo 3 sucks, or whatever.
Still to this
And in many
day.
cases they were correct, right? In retrospect, the game is so much better than it was. Do those people have you talked to them since then? Can you talk them into playing it again? Have they ever tried it again? Do you care?
Yeah, because I had friends that came over from Diablo 2, and I was sure I'd be playing with them again in Diablo 3, and then they lost interest quickly. But I love Diablo. I've been playing Diablo 3 since it launched, and I knew it had its problems, and I still played it constantly. So, I mean, everybody's got a different point of view about how it launched and the problems it had, but I probably I would have played it no matter what because I waited so long for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did play it no matter what. But
Yeah.
have you tried to talk those friends into playing it again? I mean, what would you say? Obviously, we're not evangelists for the game. Okay, probably we are, actually.
Maybe we are.
It's not like we're doing a podcast about it or anything, right?
They don't have time. They're not that into it. Something,
But are they playing other game? Are they playing Warcraft or something, or what? Or
My friends.
do they have real lives?
No, they have real lives now. Most of my friends from Diablo 2.
It's not allowed that way.
Oh,
So
poor guys.
How about you? How about your friends, Master P? Have you talked them back into playing it, or what?
Well, I actually talked my brother in playing. That's when Season 2 started. I was playing with my brother. I just got him back into playing, which he bought the game at launch, and he found out it was kind of shit. And for some reason, he had it in his head that it was going to be a subscription model like WoW, which I'm not sure if that would have been viable back then at all. So he was hesitant to come back. And I was like, no, man, you own the game. You may want to buy the expansion down the line, but you don't have to pay anything to keep playing it. And I got one person back, and that's about it. And before that, he was stuck on World of Warcraft forever.
No, that never ends.
Yeah.
Speaking of STDs.
I always feel guilty trying to introduce people to the game because I'm nearly addicted to it. I played it so much, so I'm thinking, is this good for everybody in my life? Like, will they turn around in like a few years and be like, damn you?
What all they could have done with their lives if not for trying to get that 6 piece of the IK set.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't throw this game at everyone, but I definitely I think it's great.
It's like introducing your friends to heroin, and just so you have someone to shoot up with.
Except you need to collect all 6 syringes first.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of 6 pieces of syringes, that was the thought I've been having about trying to get a friend back into it again. We all think, people who play it a lot are pretty much, well, I wouldn't say unanimous, but it seems like the vast majority of people think it's a much better game than it was, a year ago, 2 years ago, certainly 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
But is that noticeable to a new player? I mean, all the really cool stuff in the game now is like, the 6-piece bonuses, and you need a bunch of legendary items to support it. And, Greater Rift 35 or 40 or 50 is super awesome once you can do it. But, I mean, you got to play a fair amount of hours and know what you're doing to even get into that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were someone who played for the first month of the game and then you hadn't played it since, and you came back now, 2 years and 10 months later or whatever, and jumped in, would you even notice any differences? I mean, adventure mode, obviously, assuming you had a level 70 at least. Okay, you'd only have a level 60 for one thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, assuming you got into the end game, I have friends that I've talked with, they're like, so what's different about it, Or if I played it again, would I even notice it? And I'm like, well, you got to put in like 10 hours, and then you'll start to notice that it's different. I mean, I guess if they're playing softcore, they could get like power leveled and immediately have like a 6-piece set or something. But
yeah,
it does seem like you have to play it for a while to really appreciate how much better it is, because all the itemization and stuff that's improved is pretty much max level and higher.
Well, the problem was with the vanilla game at launch, it took time to figure out that it was not what it was supposed to be. So it took them to getting to max level to realize that this wasn't Diablo 2. This wasn't a expand or a sequel to Diablo 2. It was a very sort of base game idea that wasn't quite fitting together quite right. And to go from that and say, do that again, and when you get to that point, you will actually realize that it's a lot of fun. Because with Diablo, your first leveling up experience, you just sit there, you kill monsters, and you get things, and then you kill more monsters, and it's got a nice reward cycle. And it keeps you going through till the end, and then if there's more game there, then there's more game there. If there isn't, there isn't. So it's very difficult. My brother actually had a witch doctor that was level 60 when he stopped playing it, and it was, I had to tell him, like, all your gear, it's shit. Whatever it is, now, it's shit. Even if you don't have the expansion, it's shit.
Yeah, but the major improvement right now, from then to now, is simply that legendaries drop.
That's true.
And then they didn't then.
And they're useful.
And even if they weren't really useful, it's kind of exciting, and it's a big production. You have a beam that comes up and a special sound and a dot on the map, and that just didn't happen. I played months and got one legendary item from the original Diablo.
And I was in the auction house, but
exactly.
Yeah, so I guess it would be, you don't have to do what was it, normal, nightmare, hell, inferno anymore, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You get to 70 a lot more quickly than you used to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the old days you'd zoom up, you get ahead of the power curve, and then it was like, I'm gonna gain one level in Act 3 and Act 4 because I'm already level 42 and I'm in normal or something like that. It was just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And now you keep progressing all the time, so that's nice. And you get blood shards while you're leveling, and as you just said at AdAstra, you find a lot more legendaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the whole scaling of legendaries is nice. You don't just find the same 2 low-level legendaries over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
You might actually find a really good one with a cool legendary property. Of course, you get level 45 or whatever. But So yeah, I guess there would be a fair number of things. Obviously, you have to get 70s to adventure mode, and that makes a huge difference once you can start doing rifts and bounties, right?
Yeah, a huge difference.
Yeah, so I guess we talk people into trying it again if they haven't tried it, and we'll get our 10% commission fee for each referral.
The best thing I can think of for that is just to actually play with them. Say, hey, look, come play with me. I will take you through all the things you need to know, and I'll give you a basic understanding so you can pick whatever class you want to pick, and we'll just kill monsters together, and then you can decide for yourself because you already have the base game. And if you get the expansion on sale, then it's, $20 extra? Which, when you paid $60 for the original game, paying that extra $20 just to make sure it works the way it's supposed to, after 3 years, that's not too bad. 2 years. 3. I'm tired.
I'd love to see stats, though. I'd like to know, how many people are playing the game today, and if that information's even available, and, what that arc or that curve looks like. Are we gaining or losing people? Where are we at?
Blizzard keeps that stuff pretty tightly, not revealed. They'll mention, World of Warcraft subscription numbers in their quarterly financial reports, that kind of thing. But
yeah,
but they don't tell you exactly. I mean, they'll tell you, Diablo 2 sold 12 million copies in the first month or whatever it did. But how many of those people played it for an hour and never played it again? Nobody knows.
Well, the thing is,
Blizzard knows, but we don't.
The thing is, they only want to. They only have a obligation to say their financial things. So if someone's playing but not paying, then they don't really want to tell anybody because there's no reason to. To tell their stockholders, like, hey, we're making money. They have to do that, but they don't really have to say, well, people are still playing our games to this day, things of that nature.
Well, they're about to open up over in China, and it's huge. It's going to be massive sales there, right? And I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, it's not for sale. It's for it's free to play.
The vanilla
it's free
game
to play
is free
there.
To play.
Okay, but the expansion you pay for, and then they can buy upgrades. But will we be able to play on those servers, or they'll be totally locked?
They're only for China.
Those are
China.
Completely locked down.
Not even Hong Kong. Hong Kong plays on different servers now. It's already available there, as far as I know. But obviously, that was going to be a later topic. We obviously might as well get into that now. The whole stash for cash in China thing. We'd heard news about that. Blizzard had come out and talked about it a couple of months ago because it was in one of the patches, and they were like, you guys are going to data mine this, and then you're going to go crazy. So we're just going to come out and tell you, this is only going to be in China, and it's not pay to win, P2W. It is just going to be a few bonuses, like you can buy a short-term experience buff or a bonus buff to blood shards or whatever.
Yeah.
And then just recently, the whole information came out. I found a bunch of web pages. This D163 site, that's the main Chinese language site. And they covered all the details. Wrote a big article and had lots of screenshots of all this stuff and how it, basically you get platinum. You find a little bit of platinum in the game, like the first elite you kill every day drops some platinum. You get platinum for some achievements.
Yeah.
There's a platinum goblin, which I'm assuming is like super rare. Probably giggles too, right? But but you can also buy platinum for real money. So that's the whole thing. And I posted this whole article about it, lots of the details, and said, what do you guys think? And put a vote at the bottom. And by far the leading response right now is, it sounds great, bring it to the U.S. and Europe right now. That was 46% of the voters.
Yeah.
And second place is, I hate it, it's horrible, but that's only 21%. So, there was no majority, but then it's okay, I don't want it, maybe in the future, 13%. So you're looking at almost 60% of people either want it right now or in the future. And Blizzard has said this repeatedly, we're not going to do this, we're not going to sell you extra stash space, we don't want it to be pay to win. And the majority of voters in the U.S. and Europe are like, we would like this in the game now. And Blizzard keeps treating this like it's toxic waste, and people are going to hate them for it. Which is funny, because people hate them for the auction house, and they rolled that out for everyone, right?
The problem they have is that people will hate them for anything and everything they do. No matter how good or bad it is, they're just going to have haters. That 21% that voted we hate it are writing on their forums all day long. It's like getting, verbal hate mail 24 hours a day.
Nevilistus is getting a headache right now from some troll talking about Path of Exile right now because of this.
Exactly. So why are fans? The thing with the thing, it's not you don't spend $10 and then double your damage. They're very specific about kind of an ethical, like Path of Exile guys were saying long ago, an ethical item shop. Like you don't buy an item that doubles all your damage and makes you don't just spend $20 and get the full 6-piece set.
But they are talking about EXP boosts. Now
that's the main thing they're selling.
But that's a borderline, it's borderline cheat. It's a huge advantage. And here's the thing: if you are joining a seasonal game and you're like, you actually care about the competition and you're like, I want to be on top of the season, then you have to buy the EXP boost because all the top players will be buying them. You have to have it on all the time. It's going to be required.
But you can earn a lot of platinum, and if you play 10 hours a day already, you'll probably find enough platinum to buy EXP boost anyway.
And you can.
And people that play 10 hours a day are already like Paragon 1200, So
yeah, but you can
also. Are they going
to
to be Paragon 1400?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It'll matter. You'll want to be that Paragon 1400.
Well, it matters to them, but to those of us who are Paragon, 400 or 500 or less, it's like those people have played, 10 times more or 15 times more than us. Makes no real difference, for the average player, even the average non-casual player.
Just for anyone that's competing, they're going to have they're going to have to buy the boost, or they're going to have to get the platinum. If they don't have the platinum,
I don't care.
Yeah, you don't care. You're not that competitive.
If it was like click button for Paragon 500, that would seem wrong, right?
You still have to put in the effort to get the experience. And another thing they can do is say, hey, you can only use one of these boosts per day to keep it as a sort of level playing field. Also, the people who are taking the game this seriously, and I actually wanted to say this in the podcast about the people who are using the exploit, the people that are taking the game this seriously, I really think they need to be slapped upside the head. It's like, okay, I understand you want to be good, but do you really need to be the best? Do you really need to have that dick measuring contest?
Apparently, yes, they do.
Well, some of them are getting paid to be, it's like they're the best. They have the most followers on
Twitch.
whatever, on Twitch, and then they're making the most money because people are paying to watch them play.
Well, some of them, yeah, but at the same time, a lot of people watch Riker, and Riker is nowhere near the top level of play, and he just gives you all the information. He tells you what different controversies are coming out. He gives you builds that are being used, and he just dicks around on the stream for whatever thing he wants to do. But he has a huge amount of followers. Not quite like some of the top guys, but like he could do it full time fairly easily at the point he's at now. So
and he's not in the top 50 players of his class?
No, he's not even close. Okay. He's a writer for what is it? It's some magazine or something, but he just has fun with his streaming. He's more like a variety streamer, if you know about Twitch streamers. He's a variety streamer, but he only streams once a week playing Diablo 3, and that's it.
So, but he's got juice from some other way,
Yeah, he's got juice from some other way, but he's also... There are other things you can do. You don't have to be the best. And this sort of mentality that I have to be the best is childish. And I really think some of these guys are 13 years old that have to watch the best guy. The best guy and only the best guy, and anyone who's not the best sucks. You can see it in Dota, you can see it in LoL. You have these young kids, and if they're not winning, they are the worst, and they should just kill themselves. That's competitiveness.
After they have sex with your mom.
Exactly. That's competitiveness in a nutshell, and we don't need that in Diablo 3. We don't need that.
Though. It's there. It's part of the game. It's seasons.
Burn it out with fire. It's bad for the community as a whole, and I don't think the community's as bad as some communities.
I don't think competition is bad for the community. I disagree entirely.
It's not the competition. It's the I have to be the best mentality.
That's what a competition's about.
No. You can
I have
play
to be
a game.
the second best.
No, you can play a game and say, I'm going to do as well as I can, and that's good enough. You can do that. It's possible. Well, no, that is a competition.
That's Stuart Smalley. That's self-affirmation.
It is self-affirmation, but still.
Darn it, I'm good enough, and I'm fast enough, and I'm going to level in T6, and I'm going to feel good about it.
Well, it is self-affirmation, but at the same time, it's, would you rather have these asshats farming 200, 300,000 blood shards in a ridiculously short amount of time, or would you rather everybody go, okay, I'm going to go. Oh, I didn't quite make the leaderboards. Well, next season, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to get better at it. Because it's a PvE game. This is not PvP. You don't need to prove you're better than someone.
Again, it's just different strokes for different folks, I guess. And you can hang around and be like, I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful all day, but some people enjoy the competition, and it does drive people to play better. I'm sure that the people who are getting those top riffs, like level 58 and 59 griffs, I mean, the drive to be better, shapes builds, which other players like don't have to figure out on their own if they don't want to. They can just sign on and like look and see like what cookie cutter things are available. So I can just kind of play what mindless strategy I want, or they can say, this is the guy I have to beat. The competition's there, so we might as well enjoy it.
No, I don't say we have to enjoy it. It is different strokes for different folks, and I'm not saying that people who are competitive are naturally dicks. But
that's what you did say.
It's close to what I
First,
said.
it was something about burgers and fire a minute ago.
There's an addendum, and that addendum is that if you have this kind of this all-consuming drive that if I'm not the best, I am worthless, and that's what drives cheaters. Is like I have to have an edge. I have to have this edge, otherwise I'm not going to be the best. I'm not going to have a chance to be the best. Then it becomes toxic. You have
the point where we have people going to jail for cheating.
Exactly. You have the point where people go to jail for cheating.
Of course, they weren't cheating to get ahead on leaderboards. They were just getting some money out of it. But we'll get to that topic in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think is potentially useful about the Chinese style of stash for cash, obviously more stash based. I mean, people have been asking about that since like the day the game launched.
Yeah.
People keep begging, let us, shut up and take our money, right? We want to buy stash base, and they refuse to sell it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, if we give you more stash base, you would just want more stash base. It's like, okay, we'll give you more money then, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure that Josh. It's like much like you were just doing Master X and attempting to rail against human nature. Blizzard's doing a lot of that also. It's like, well, if we just give you more stash base, then you'll have more stash base. Then let's be happy and content with more stash base. It's like, well, okay, that's really. In theory, welcome to capitalism. People want things; they'll give you money for it, and you sell it to them.
Pretty much.
You don't talk them out of buying it for their own good. You're not a crack dealer. You don't have to feel bad about selling this stuff. But the thing that I think could be useful about the sales stuff is that people who don't have time to play.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who are Paragon 150 or 200 or 250 or whatever, and just don't have time to play it.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're left out and they can't ever catch up again. Everyone else in their guild is Paragon 500 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if they could drop a few bucks and get some experience upgrades and then get an EXP buff, especially with the way experience, the cumulative method of it, you need so much more to gain once you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Paragon 1 to 500 is like less than from 500 to 550, something like that, right? And it kind of goes that way forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it basically has to double. Like if you want to go from 500 to 600, you basically have to get almost another entire 500 levels of experience.
So it's not a huge advantage to be a little bit higher. And plus, eventually, all you're getting is 5 more of your main stat, right, for every Paragon level. It almost means nothing.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that some of that pay-to-win stuff or pay-to-catch-up stuff could be useful for people who don't have that much time. So you've got a real life, you got a real job, you got wife and kids or whatever, or a husband and kids perhaps to be inclusive.
No, I could play devil's advocate all day, but I really like the idea. I mean, I'm just pointing out the different aspects of it. I'm not saying I wouldn't want it. I'd like to see it, and we definitely need the space. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. I believe that they need a little bit more time to work out the kinks and things like that. But I do believe that it coming here would be a good thing in the long run. Just shut up and take my money. I need more stash space, or I can't have a second character.
What are they talking about, though? Is it going to be like 10 tabs that each have 25 tabs, or have 5 tabs each? What are we looking at for more space? I mean, we're not just going to get 5 more tabs.
From the screenshots that showed from 6 through 10 tabs, you just buy you could up to double it, but they didn't list prices, so it's not totally clear what that would be. But each, I mean, obviously that would be, they would adjust the price for the region too, obviously.
But from what I was reading, and maybe I misunderstood, like in the top of every tab there is a chess icon, and you can click on that and it opens up more tabs. For each tab unfolds into 5 more or something like that, or 10 more or 25 more or something.
Yeah, but it looked like in the screenshot there was only one on the top. But I mean, obviously they could, Blizzard could just, easily change that to as many as they wanted, right? But I guess it'll depend on the market and how many people want for it.
Also,
and how much they can make selling it. But I mean, but just generally, we seem to all be in agreement these features will be fine, and no one will be buying if they're in the game. So you have to kind of wonder what the whole point of the real money auction house initially was that they could make a little bit of additional ongoing
cash
income stream aside from just selling the full expansions.
I guess.
And we haven't seen expansion for 2 years, and you wonder what they're going to fund the game with long term. People seem to like this idea, so maybe we'll see it. Certainly at BlizzCon next time, we'll get some, people will get some questions. This thing's in China, it's really popular, fans want it, why can't we get it here? And we'll get some convoluted answer about how they're not sure the market's right for it. Maybe they'll get it in the future, and it'll be a bunch of no comments basically. But who knows? Maybe they'll tell us.
Well, the business people at Blizzard have always been slow on the uptake. The game developers have always been like, let's do this, let's do that. But the business people are like, whoa, let's see how this pans out, this small little thing, whatever it is. And that's any company, really. The business people are saying, no, put the brakes on. We're not quite ready for this for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, that's how Hearthstone's done, free to play, and you buy extra cards. Yeah. And they haven't revealed the whole details of how they're going to fund. What the hell's the new game called with Donkey Kong? Overwatch.
Yeah.
They haven't described how they're going to fund Overwatch, but they've said it's probably not going to be retail box sales. It's going to be some kind of extra features. So they're obviously moving in that direction. And World of Warcraft just had, you can buy server switches and you can buy sparkle ponies and stuff in WoW forever.
Yeah.
So it does seem like that's the direction they're going at some point. Anyway, next topic. You guys keep mentioning the whole hackers getting busted thing. So that was in the news. This happened a couple of years ago, but it's just the legal documents are now available. And they were using a remote access tool called a rat to basically, it wasn't quite, stealing accounts, but they would take over a character and drop all their gear in town and then grab the gear and sell it in the real money auction house.
Yep.
And I'm sure you guys remember back in the early days of Diablo 3 Vanilla, there were, every day for months, there was, I got hacked, Battle.net's insecure, people stole my items, I want a refund, it's Blizzard's fault. Blizzard just kept saying, get a goddamn authenticator, and this won't happen. And I'm not sure this would have helped with an authenticator, but it certainly seems like if someone's hacking your computer and logging onto the game and dropping your items in the game, and they've stolen your password to do it, then an authenticator is what you need, something that's not in the game to stop that. But
yeah.
Anyway, these guys got caught for it, and the estimated value of the items they stole was about $8,000 in real money, and they got busted for that and got felony convictions, and now the one guy's paying Blizzard $6,000 for the lawyer fees forever. It was a pretty small market. I mean, there are people who were doing tens of thousands of dollars with this stuff, and you've seen much bigger hacks. But
yeah,
the entire comment thread for this was good, and they should be publicly shamed and tortured at burned at the stake.
I don't know.
And
I
so
have
how do
mixed
you guys
feelings about it?
So what are your mixed feelings about punishing hackers for hacking computers and stealing their items?
Well, if they're kids, I'd hate to see them spend time in jail. So I'm glad they didn't go to jail. I'm glad there was a fine. I'm glad they set a precedent, saying this just can't go on without some punishment. But it's too bad that they have a record. And then again, it was a lot of money. I mean, I think they actually generated $8,000 in the auction house and then pocketed that. So once you're sitting on $8,000, I think you've got to say to yourself, I did take something here. This is definitely a lot more money than I should have. You think they would have come to their senses after a little bit of money, but they went a little crazy.
Well, the one guy claimed in the article that he didn't actually make any money. He said that, the one guy who basically wouldn't talk to the reporter. He said that what happened is Blizzard caught them and locked their account and deleted the items. He never actually sold anything. But the court record said they'd sold that. So, I mean, but either way, they did steal items that were worth that value, to people. And obviously, if it's your account that someone hacked into and stole all your gear,
that happened to me in Diablo
you would not be real, you wouldn't be real sympathetic to their plight, right?
No, I was very upset. That happened to me in Diablo 2. I had my entire they took over my account somehow and took all my stuff.
Did you have an authenticator? Oh wait, they didn't exist back then.
Exactly.
Do you have one now?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, don't you have to have one? Doesn't everybody have an authenticator now?
Well, when I was doing 10,000 a month in the auction house, I decided I needed one for the high kind of info I was pulling in. So yeah, I have one.
Were you doing 10,000 a month in the auction house?
Gold or dollars?
In dollars. What were you doing in dollars?
No, I did a lot of gold though. I sold a few billion worth of gold. I didn't actually do any real money though. No, I was behind the curve.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So any objections to their? The thing that made me funny about it is I've posted a few times recently when Blizzard would, like, people were doing blood shard exploits or various other tricks, and I kept saying that they should be naming the people, listing who did it and what their punishment was. I don't mean their real names and addresses and phone numbers. I just their account names. Here's 100 people that got caught doing this and they've all been banned for a month or whatever. And I thought that would be a useful deterrent, and that's kind of how our criminal justice system works, as in this case, right? There's public records of what happens. The whole thing is based on transparency. And you see people do this, and, the whole justice is blind thing, right,
Well, hold on a second there. The naming and shaming seems like it would be a good tool, but when you really look into it, it just turns into witch hunts. I mean, how many people are accused there are by the witches. Media?
The thing with witch hunts is there's not witches. These actually are witches. I mean, I don't just mean witch doctors. I mean witches.
The thing is, how many times do you see in the media someone in the media puts their name out like this person did this, and if they are then acquitted and it comes to light that they had no involvement, they had no idea what's going on, they were just railroaded into court, no one sees that. And
yeah, the apologies are never made public, only the accusations.
Exactly. So you got to be careful with that, though it does sound like a good idea at first. But
well, see, that's why Blizzard doesn't let people name and shame other people in the forums.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying there should be some free-for-all of saying this guy's got too many blood shards, he's hacking. I'm saying when Blizzard actually inflicts punishments and says, these people got rolled back, this person got banned for a month, this person got whatever, they should, publicly state who they do that to. I don't need, like, a full explanation of why each person got it or whatever, but, I mean, that's kind of the whole point in punishing people. You see, okay, these guys all got busted, I better not do what they're doing or I might get busted too.
That is important.
That's true.
I mean, and that's what I liked about this article the other day. I wish it was on BattleNet's forums.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be naming and shaming, and they don't allow that. Even though it's in, it's a legal document in the state of courts. But the thing that troubles me is we all know that Blizzard is very, flexible on their punishments. I mean, like major famous streamer probably doesn't get punished as bad as some random dude because he's like, or perhaps he gets punished worse to make an example of him,
That's true.
And that's the whole. I mean, I've been arguing about this with Katniss forever, and he's on the Sanctuary Sweatshop and has been on this podcast a few times in the old days.
Mm.
And he's like, they shouldn't name it. It's a witch hunt. Blah blah blah. I'm like, it's not a witch hunt. They're stating the punishments and telling you these people got busted for this, and I think that's a deterrent also. But I also think it's disclosure. That's why we don't have secret tribunals and kangaroo courts and stuff.
That's true. That's true.
That's why we have a public service, and you say, I think that the reason Blizzard doesn't want to do it is because they don't want it to be a public thing, and it's not applied evenly or fairly.
Well,
some people get singled out. Some people get special breaks because they're nice people and they know they have a financial relationship with a company or whatever, and they just don't want to deal with that.
Oh, and then there might be repercussions from then the first saying, okay, these people did this and got caught and got in trouble, and these people didn't. If that came to light, then maybe that they would end up.
That absolutely would come to light. That's why they don't want to do it, in my opinion. But
well, at the same time,
I could have my tinfoil hat on too tightly. I'm not sure.
At the same time, Blizzard's secretive about everything. They don't talk about anything. I mean, I was amazed when they were doing the tavern talk. It was like, wait, Blizzard employees that are actually constantly, not just at BlizzCon, constantly talking to the fans about things and answering questions. Blizzard just likes to keep things under wraps. But I think you're right. If they actually say these are the punishments handed out, these are the things that they did, I think that would probably be good. And it's true. Like, that's not exactly a witch hunt. These are the punishments that I've handed out after we investigated and found that they did something wrong. So Yeah, I can see your point there.
Well, I win again. Okay, next topic. Speaking of horrible, embarrassing things, WoW selfies.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There's like this whole feature in the game now where you can take selfies, and Blizzard's running a big contest about it. Like you can win BlizzCon tickets.
I'm so
and
glad
it's like
I
they
don't
put
play
it,
WoW.
They put a tool in there, and I've been sending emails about this to people I know who play WoW, and none of them reply to it. It's like if your best friend was a really big fan of that 19 and Counting show, and like took the Dougars for like awesome role models. And now that like one of the kids is like an incestuous pedophile, they're like, I never watched that show. I don't know what this means. I've never heard of it. So the whole World of Warcraft thing, that's probably the worst analogy ever, by the way. But the whole World of Warcraft selfies thing, it's like they decided to crystallize the worst knee-jerk reaction of Diablo players to World of Warcraft. Like, it's all for filthy casuals, and it's ridiculous, and it's like sparkle ponies, and there's like, silly little orcs that make funny sound effects. And Blizzard's like, yeah, okay, we'll accept that and run with it, because, $15 a month.
Pretty much.
Can either of you defend WoW selfies?
Hell no.
I can't even defend WoW. I'm still kind of like amazed that they had 10 years of support and Diablo didn't get anything until Diablo 3 came out.
Yeah, well...
I refuse to play WoW.
I loved WoW for the lore, but I can't defend selfies. There's not even a picture on my Facebook, so I just don't understand people who do it. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
There's one of the characters in the new Mortal Kombat that does a selfie, like when they kill you, like it's the part of the fatality.
And
it's also like Dark Souls or one of those like really dark RPGs has a selfie thing now.
Jesus Christ.
But it's like ironically, because like you're looking down at like some corpse like torn into 47 pieces, and it's like really gruesome, and the person's kind of smiling and making a joke. Like I can see how it kind of works because it's done ironically, it's kind of sarcastic and ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing I realized, I think it would be awesome if we could actually do selfies in Diablo 3. I don't mean screenshots. I mean it'd be kind of cool just because you don't ever get that first person POV viewpoint unless you're watching like some machinime thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never see that view. It'd just be kind of interesting to actually see that viewpoint of your character up close. You only see them head on, like in the character selection screen,
Well,
you never see that angle in the game. So I actually want selfies in Diablo 3, but not in WoW.
That would be kind of cool, actually, if you could do selfies with the last Rift Guardian you killed, just like, hey, this guy's on fire.
But see, it would be ironically done, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same viewpoint you have all the time, so I don't know. This is, the magic rules that apply to me, but not to other people.
Pretty much.
Dude, and you're
Pretty much
talking about
life.
selfies. I literally thought you meant that the people playing the games were taking selfies themselves and posting them in the game, and I'm thinking it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Well, only streamers, but...
Yeah.
I mean, streamers are non-stop selfies, and usually it's, you want to put a piece of tape over that corner of the screen, but it's like an ISIS video in most cases.
60 frames a second of selfie.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, I don't know about that. I literally have I've sent emails about it to people. Blizzard PR sent me this whole email about, WoW selfies. I'm not sure why I'm on the mailing list for WoW selfies, but, I posted in the forum, people are like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And I forwarded that email to some people I know in real life who play World of Warcraft, and I'm like, you play this game? And they were like, I have no comment on this. I don't know this exists. I don't want to know this exists. But, I mean, you said you liked WoW for the lore, and it is obviously, WoW has always had kind of a comedic element, with gnomes falling over themselves and dwarves, and there's like motorcycle rocket ship blimps and all this kind of crap. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous in some ways.
It is kind of ridiculous, but at the same time...
So is a selfie really that far from the tone?
It's not, but that tone is why I moved away from it in the first place. But again, different strokes for different folks. Like, there were people taking selfies in front of a fire in Brooklyn, so I don't know.
Is the Lich King trending on Instagram tonight? maybe next week.
Maybe.
Okay, getting back to actual Diablo 3 things. Question I was wondering about, I saw someone mention this in a forum thread somewhere. What if there were leaderboards for characters that had no set items on them? That seems like it'd be an interesting thing. I guess there'd be some new builds that would be totally powerful, but pretty much all the most powerful builds in the game now involve a 6-piece set, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for every class.
Yeah.
And usually a 2-piece set on your rings, right? So what do you guys think would be if there were literally no set items? I mean, maybe you could have one set item, but not, no set item bonuses, something like that?
Well, That's something actually I posted a thread about on when they offered the player base an opportunity to create an item that they ended up making the Convention of Elements ring. My suggestion was for an item that would grant like a 3-piece or 4-piece set bonus from using one set item, and that people would have that buff.
It's like a ring of really royal grandeur.
Yeah, but right, in a way, but
RRRROPG.
But the thing is, the idea would be they could basically focus on wearing only legendary items, not set items. They would get it, so they would have the partial bonus, like some kind of small buff that, like, because most of these set items, I think the cool thing is that there's like when you get 2 or 4 pieces on, even though it's not the complete set, you can do a lot with that, and that would be kind of a cushion to ride on. But then you can wear, all kinds of. You do interesting builds. You could wear the items you never get to wear because you always have a 6-piece set on. So that would be great if we had another leaderboard for people that didn't play with set. It's almost like it's not hardcore, but it's a whole other philosophy of playing.
Well, talking about competition, I mean, you could do it like MMA, or you could do it like boxing, where you have different weight classes. You have a leaderboard for people that are softcore, no legendaries, softcore, no sets, softcore, like heavyweight boxer kind of guys. And then you do it the same thing for hardcore. You can do that kind of thing, and that would actually really work. And it would sort of spread out, so the game's not filtered in between 5 guys who are at the top of all the leaderboards because they play their character all the time forever. You have the people who are going, I'm going to do the best I can with rares only and see how far I get, and then they have their own little leaderboard there, sort of bulking up to get to a different weight class, or slimming down to get to a different weight class. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
The drawback I see is that most of the really cool builds in the game require sets that enable those builds. The sets aren't just stat sticks. I mean, the sets enable you to do stuff in certain ways that you couldn't otherwise do.
Yeah.
But, of course, people are doing that because they're the most powerful things. And so if you just had a bunch of legendaries in every slot, maybe people would find whole different builds in different ways. I mean, legendaries don't synergize as well as sets do. But there are many cases where people would find stuff. And also what AdAstra was saying with his ring of royal grandeur, his RORRRG, is that would kind of almost be a bit of a power creep. You could still do the same stuff. You would just have more options in the other gear slots without having to make the trade-offs.
But you'd never have the full 6-piece set bonus. You'd only have a partial set bonus. And then instead of it,
like every Barb with the IK set today, you mean?
Exactly, but every class would have it.
Well, that could be a little bit hinky, because if you do, like, I'm going to have the 4-piece of the Immortal Kings, and then have the 4-piece of Wrath of the Wastes, and then the 4-piece of Rakers, and then the 4-piece of, like, Blackthorns at the same time, which that kind of ring would enable. You'd have to tune it a little bit, but it'd be kind of fun.
No, you could only get one. My concept was you could only get one, like, partial set bonus. You can't get several. And it's not, and it wouldn't just appear as a ring. It would appear as any type of item. It could be, a helm or a shoulder or a bracer or a ring or an amulet. And also, it would be so rare that not everybody would have it.
Well, then you get into people farming it like they farm the furnace, and it's like, oh, it's not this specific item, it's junk. Toss it because I need it for this specific build. Again, there are bugs to work out of it, but it can be a kind of interesting idea.
Yeah, and obviously it'll never happen, but it would be interesting to see a little more variety. I just would wonder about, I mean, everybody's got a 6-piece, and it's just a 4-piece as well on right now. I think there's so many interesting legendary items in the game now, and many of them you never actually get to use because there's always a better option in the sets. If people would find some interesting ways to combine stuff, sort of like Diablo 2 style, where you'd have, more of a mismatch of gear, kind of all putting together for different stuff. But who knows? Maybe someday.
Well, this season I've actually been rolling with Rollins, and I've found quite a few different builds using different things, because with Rollins you see people either getting a furnace or a corrupted Ashbringer. But there's actually a couple builds that use the Ivory Tower with the weapon that gives you the shotgun blast effect, and things of that nature. So different tweaks can be worked in, but the top end usually settles out into one thing after a while. So I don't know.
And that's all because Rollins enables permanent, of your bonuses. So
yeah, kind of.
Without that, who knows if anybody would do. Anyway, related legendary thing. This is something I had a random thought of the other night. If you could take one legendary item in the game today back into the early days of Diablo 3 vanilla, and enable it on your character back then, what would you do? What would be the most fun, powerful? Obviously, you'd take a weapon for power, so maybe don't necessarily count on massive damage buffs from weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, otherwise everyone just takes an ancient something, right? An ancient weapon. So that kind of makes the question less interesting that way. But, what's your favorite class? What's an item that's really awesome now that gives some really cool proc effect that you never had back in the day, or that makes a skill really useful? And again, obviously, a lot of it's set items, but just to say one item, not, a full 6-piece whatever.
Yeah.
Anything that leaps to mind? You used to play a lot of Monk and Crusader, Master P. Anything you're using now that you're like, that would be so cool if I had it back in the day?
Oh, there's two things. There's the Flying Dragon, which is just cool. It just doubles your attack speed on hit, which is just so fun. And with the old school Monk,
and you would also be the only monk in all of Diablo 3 using a Daibo.
Exactly. But with the old school Monk, like the whole thing was attack speed. You have to be faster. And this would just kind of fill that role really nicely. And the other thing would be for all the classes would be the Corrupted Ashbringer, just because it's a really cool nod to WoW and
oh yeah, you like WoW lore. Okay, you're off the podcast. Okay, do you have an answer, AdAstra, that doesn't involve WoW lore?
I like the Gungo gear. I thought that was a pretty awesome item.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that season 2 was short, but I was definitely thinking that was a super powerful item.
Which is for the monk. That's the bracer for the monk that gives the sort of the domino effect to Exploding Palm.
Yeah, because
for people who don't play monks, who want to play along on the podcast.
It's the exhibit Exploding Palm. Yo, dog, I heard you like Exploding Palm, so now your Exploding Palm applies Exploding Palm on Exploding Palm.
Exactly. Only when there's really large crowds around you. I've been trying to think of an answer for Demon Hunters that doesn't involve the word Kreider shot, but I haven't come up with any yet. That item is like so ridiculously overpowered. I mean, for what you just couldn't use that skill in Diablo 3 very much, and just to have the infinite with the cool things of it.
Bombardier's Rucksack? That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, but sentries were horrible, though, so I don't know if they would even matter.
Well, wouldn't that tip it
so you have 5
sentries make more sense then? The
sentries are only good once you have marauders that makes them do your things. Just into themselves, they're crap, so I don't know that would even matter.
Every time I try to use the Demon Hunter back in the day, I was just like, ooh, I get to place my little turrets and they kill things for me. Then I run away.
Yeah, but they don't. Not until Marauders do they. Now they kill things.
No.
But now no one loves it anymore. I don't know. Obviously, like I think Aetherwalker would change the world for Wizards. I mean, that's like the most popular item in the game now. But it really needs Tals to be awesome. But just being able to teleport all you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The thing I was noticing recently is I saw some huge thread about how Aetherwalker with Tals was the most awesome Wizard build ever. And of course, most people who play Barbs think the current spin to win super fast Barb build is the best ever. And I'm a Demon Hunter player, and I think the current Nats build with super fast movement speed and blasting power is the most awesome build ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a comment, and many people think the current Monk build, which involves super fast teleporting with 1,000 Stormstead, is the most awesome build ever. Are you noticing a common theme here? Really powerful builds that move really fast are the most popular builds ever.
Yeah. Well,
and it seems to be pretty much unanimous on this goal. I mean, obviously, I don't want to think that we're quite this easily bought off and pleased, but apparently we are.
We really are. I mean, who doesn't like shooting across the screen and everything dies? Who doesn't like that?
Blizzard, apparently. It took them 3 years to make it, but other than that...
That's true.
And you'll note that the Crusader kind of had that. He's got super fast pony skill, but it doesn't have massive damage at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And Witch Doctors are just pretty much slow and helpless.
Yeah.
But both those classes are getting new sets in the next season, so maybe we'll finally see some super fast movement speed for Witch Doctors.
Probably not.
You gain 10% movement speed for every fetish that's active at the time or something. It's like, hey, now I'm super fast and everything dies immediately. But it's funny that, it's not exactly rocket science, right? I mean, I think Dave Brevik figured this one out in the past, right, with his super detailed level of game design. Make characters move really fast and kill everything really fast, and players seem to like that part.
Yeah.
Of course, where do we go from here, right? What do they make the next? What's a better set than we have now? I mean, you can't really go any faster or kill any faster, so maybe they've painted themselves into a corner here.
Well, season one, we had meticulous bolts, which actually slowed the demon hunter down in some ways, like all of that, creating like walls of static, chewing up monsters. That was pretty cool, and that was, that's the opposite of what you're saying. And then they just flipped a switch, and they've given us some different options. But I like that. That was
there are more options in the higher, greater rifts. You get stuff. Like meticulous bolts is useless for T6. It's like the exact opposite of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But for a really high GR, that's good.
Well,
and I'm sure there's other equivalent builds for other classes where it's not super great to be super. I mean, the Demon Hunter build that I'm using now, there's two really incredibly awesome fast ones, and those are not what you do on like GR50.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what they've done is they've said, okay, there is one fantasy that all of the characters share: move fast, everything dies. At least in T6. With bars, you got to hang around a little bit. In higher, greater rifts. I'm not sure what it's like with Demon Hunters, but I think they're like, okay, we know this. Let's make this work for all the classes, and then let's figure out what we want to do with these other things is. Do you want to be the guy that just hits once and everything around you dies, but you can only hit once a second or once every 2 seconds? So
that was Marauder's set last season, so
yeah, something like that. But yeah, I think they've hit that fantasy that they were going for, and they figured it out. And then they're like, okay, we've got this one down. We finally figured it out. Let's do the other ones. Let's do the other fantasies that maybe aren't shared by all the characters, all the players who play those characters. But yeah, I think once you have all the options that they're planning on right now, you're going to have something for everyone, no matter what class you play.
What's interesting is all of the classes, if you look at the leaderboards right now, they're all about the same level they have. Like they're all about 59 or 60, 58. I think the only one that's behind is the Witch Doctor, and they're at 57. Maybe two levels behind most other players as far as their height, the highest grift. So, they've somehow managed to develop all of these sets to yield similar results. That's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In different
You
ways.
can also get a better sense of that kind of thing by looking at what the 500th person on every leaderboard is,
That's true.
Like, are there 3 people that are just so far above the rest on the monk or whatever? You'll go down to like the 1,000th place, the 500th place, and you might see a bigger discrepancy in some cases.
Maybe. Yeah, I have to look at that.
Early in the season, that was really the case with the barbarians because everyone was doing a barb. Obviously, that also kind of measuring how many people are playing a class, so it's not exactly a scientific measurement, but it was so easy to get up to GR50 plus with the Barb initially. He's just so powerful. You have 150 million toughness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That there were like the highest classes, the highest overall greater rift clears were on Demon Hunters. But then if you look down to like 20th place, there were way more Barbs over like GR50 than there were Demon Hunters over GR50 total. Obviously, this is months ago, so obviously the numbers have changed by now in the last weeks, but I'm not sure if it's evened out. And, of course, it's also popularity. If there's 10 times as many people playing a barbarian as there are witch doctors, obviously the numbers are going to reflect that.
And they've been told the season's going to be long, so like if it's a long season and you don't really care about winning, you might even switch characters a few times and try different classes.
You can't do that. You don't have enough stash space.
Well, you're right about that.
Do you guys have a full stash in the season?
Yeah.
I'm stuffed to capacity. Like I basically what I do is I clear everything off of the character I'm currently playing as much as possible, but there's still items in his inventory. I'm talking about the stash, but his inventory. So I have a few spaces to pick up items, and I play for a couple hours, and then I'm totally full, and I just say that's it for today. And the next time I sign in, I have to spend like 30 minutes just trying to figure out what item to delete just so I can play for that day.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
Start playing hardcore. All that crap in your inventory, that'll clear right out when you die. It's pretty much clear out your inventory real easily. Stash is your friend, but inventory, lots of space here. 60 new slots, clean and empty.
Yeah. I think
it's going on like that forever.
I think the second week of the season, I was completely full of Crusader stuff because I didn't know what to keep and what not to keep because I was new to the Crusader. And even after I figured things out a bit more and cleared it out, I refilled it up again. And it's like, Jesus Christ, is Tetris ever going to end?
I wish there was Tetris. You could think you had some skill in arranging things. Now they're all just even shapes. It's like
That's true.
Yeah, I really wish we had we talk about the universal inventory, like for legendary gems and materials. I mean, I have a whole stash tab that's just, gems, materials, keys, and, rift keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And like a few gems at the bottom, a few, non-legendary gems at the bottom. And it's like, couldn't all this, of course I'd just fill it up with stat items if I didn't have that, just like Josh says, if I had more space, I would just fill it.
Well, that's because, and that's the problem. It's not that they're thinking about giving us 5 more stash tabs and that'll be enough. We need more than that. We have a very bad stash problem. It's not like a little problem. They can't give us another 5 pages and we'll be happy. It won't be enough. We need to be able to really spread out.
That's true. There's a couple ways they can do it, but it really comes down to if you're making us pay for it, which it looks like they're planning on, they can give us extra stash space, and it's not going to screw up their servers. So why are they complaining that we need more stash space? We'll just pay them more for it.
I would pay. I don't even care at this point. You can't play the game unless you have stash space. Mm-hmm. And I like all the classes. I'm somebody that I do bounce around. I played tons of Demon Hunter, and I just got to the point where I just wanted to change, so I switched. And I did Monk for a long, long time, and then Crusader and Barb, and I've even had a stint with the Wizard and Witch Doctor. They're all fun classes to play, but you can't play them all because there's not enough inventory space.
Yeah. There's just no way to do it.
Suddenly you have double the space, 200% over capacity.
Yeah.
That's horrible. It's actually a nightmare when the season ends and you've got 5 days to sort 2 inventories into one. It's no fun.
No, it's not.
The thing I actually did recently, I have my first stash tab is all rings and amulets basically, and I have the top row I keep clear for stuff I'm switching around for gear. If I'm switching from T6 to higher grade or rift gear or whatever, you want that stuff handy. Mm-hmm. And then tab 2, I have a little bit of twinks, although you don't really need twinks anymore because you have Gem of Ease, which kind of takes all the twinking issues away in the game.
Yeah.
But that whole stash tab is full of spare stuff for other classes. Other stuff I found from non-smart drops, or I'm in a game with someone and they find some Barb gear and drop it. I had to, and then I have the others tabs are all totally full. I have, tab 3 is all full of weapons, spare weapons of all kinds. 4 is full of all spare set items and other armor pieces. And of course you need I'm playing hardcore, so I need a whole spare set of whatever I'm using, so if I die, I can rebuild, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last tab is all full of gyms and gyms and materials and all that crap. I actually had to play recently. I haven't had a chance to play the last few days. I've been too busy with real-life stuff, unfortunately, but I finally made a barbarian, and I was going to make a witch doctor because I have like 7 items for each class, you know, level 70 stats just sitting in my stash. Like, I have to make a new class so I can get these items on somebody and clear out some stash space. Like, I'm forced to play alts. Of course, if then I play them, I'm going to have, you know, a ton more stuff to put in the... Obviously, this is a very short-term solution that will only lead to long-term complications.
Yeah.
Complications?
You end up
It'll just get worse, right?
Yeah, so I've done that. Like, I've got like half a set for this one class. I don't want to throw it out because they're probably good items. So I'll just build a level 70 character and hang these items on that character. But by the time you get to level 70 and you're enjoying you play a little bit longer, then you complete the set, and now you end up somehow with more items for that class. Yeah, you just wanted to make the class just to hang items on, but now you're actually playing it.
And now you need all your rings with intelligence and dex and strength, and it's
Flux,
never ending.
Hey, Flux, I actually have a solution for you. I think this might really help you out with the alts and everything.
Die more often?
Yes. Jump into Arcane once in a while, and then you don't have to worry about those items anymore, and you can go back to your favorite Demon Hunter, and all is well with the world.
You just have to find more of them.
Let me ask you guys, if you find an item that like you have absolutely no use for right now, but it's let's say it rolls perfectly. Let's talk about an item like Band of Hollow Whispers. This ring occasionally haunts nearby enemies. It's useless. But you get one and it rolls ancient. Every stat on it is amazing, and it has a socket. Do you toss it because you don't need it right now?
No regrets. Salvage that sucker. that's what I have to do.
The answer to the question is Mage Fist. Every season I have like 4 Mage Fists saved up, and you find one that's like, you know, 50-10, and it's got that extra stat. I'm like, maybe I'll do a fire damage character. This could be handy, maybe. It's got extra stats. Fist. I have like 3 pairs of Ice Climbers for the same reason, too.
Ice Climbers, Mage Fist.
I'm not using any of them on any character, but it's like such a good roll. But eventually, yeah, you do have to chuck them. I mean, you just run out of space.
Well, the thing is, for me, if it's not for the build I'm working on right now, I have to toss it. Otherwise, I mean, I might cry while I do it. There's been times where I've salvaged a furnace, but it has to go. There's no place for it. I can't hold on to everything that might be useful for my class, and I'm lucky because I play softcore, so I don't need to hold a entire extra set of anything. I don't need duplicates. I just like, if it's not better than what I have, it goes in the trash. Otherwise, when the season rolls around, I'm going to cry while I salvage it then instead of now.
So this is the thing. Did you see that interview with Wyatt where somebody suggested they had call-in questions? Somebody asked, like, would they consider at some point maybe, like, if you find so many you find so many furnaces, let's just say, and they're non-ancient, that you could upgrade, let's say, 5 of them and get a shot at an ancient furnace from, let's say, cashing in these. And he was like, yeah, that's a really great idea.
Well, they said Super Kadala was their thought on that. So,
yeah.
You know, details to come.
Right, but the thing is, ever since that, I've held on to every single furnace I get. So it's more stuff I'm holding on to just because of that comment.
Just in case.
Just in case I get another shot at an ancient furnace. Which I don't have.
My thought was that Griswold should just keep track of what you salvaged. You know, it'd be a counter, so a virtual counter. So once you salvage 10, furnaces, you can randomly roll one, and maybe it's 50% chance of being ancient or something like that.
And all I find are non-ancient furnaces. So I'm like, I'm thinking, let's hold on to them until the day we get the counter.
Well,
yeah. So I'm sure they'll make that not retroactive. You know how that stuff is with these guys. Unless it's a set item, it's not retroactive.
Well,
of course, I'll have 20 ancient. I'll have 20 regular furnaces.
A whole stash tab of furnaces.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to do that. I used to think I'm going to do my monk character first because I know the monk from before, and then I'm going to do something else, and I want to do, like Season 1, I started a Demon Hunter, and I got him to 70 and then 50 Paragon, and then I just quit out of season 1 because it was almost over by then, or I thought it was almost over by then. But I used to do that. It was like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this because it's going to go on my Barb, and I'm going to have 2 of each character, one female and one male, and it's just, I'm going to keep doing that, and then it was just like, I have to live in the moment because they're changing things that are not retroactive, and they're changing things that are. I got to sit back and say, if it's not what I'm doing right now, it's garbage, and I'm not going to think about what I can do later on down the line, or is this going to be good for my other character? If it's good for my other character, I'll wait for it to drop, and if it never drops, tough. That's just what I have to do. Otherwise, I'm just going to not have stash space.
Okay, on this show, you have confessed to being a fan of World of Warcraft lore, and you just said you made a male demon hunter. So I'm pretty sure this is your last podcast, Master X. It was nice knowing you. I'm happy to be here.
And I confess,
do you have a male wizard, by the way?
Confess my love to Jay Wilson at the same time. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a trifecta. Okay, so he's off the podcast. Nice knowing you, man. Do you have any final words, AdAstra? Do you have any last topics, guys? We've run through all my notes.
I've been thinking about the whole Hellfire amulet and Hellfire ring thing. I'd love to see something different happen with them, and we've talked about it before, but one of the ideas I had was I'd love to see the possibility of imbuing the stats that come on those onto other rings or other amulets. So instead of having to have a Hellfire amulet, you would just imbue the secondary skill onto your favorite amulet, or the 45% the 45% extra bonus that you get on that ring, you could maybe possibly imbue onto another ring.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Just sort of merge 2 items that one has these stats that you need, the other has those stats that you need. That would actually be a pretty good idea.
That's basically a Hellfire gift.
That's true.
It's a gift of Hellfire Landy.
I'd like that.
I want more power too.
You know who else would like that? Jay Wilson. He would like to double that. So any farewell words, Master X?
Yes, I'm going to cry now because I'll never be on the podcast again, and moo.
Good try. Do you guys miss the Moo level, by the way? I assume you both found it at some point during the week it was active.
I did find it. Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was really fun.
Should it come back permanently? Should there be an ultra rare, treasure cow?
That would be cool. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, though I wish they took the voice acting from Diablo 2. But nitpicking, it was fun, it was cool. I wish it would stay around, but...
Yeah, I wish there was some kind of ultimate treasure you can get from playing that, though. I do wish there was a special...
Well, we had an ultimate treasure. It was through a yellow portal, and you killed a guy and you took 1 billion gold. But now that's been upgraded about 5 times since then.
Right.
There could never be an ultimate treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of ultimate of gold, either of you guys have any theories why the dead farmers were so rich in the cow level? Was he like the farmer banker for the whole village or something?
Right, you touched them and they're just gold.
And they would found like
everywhere.
150k gold. Why were they so rich? What were they doing?
Well, I think the cows, as vengeance for making them wear bells all the time, just started shoving gold and precious gems up their ass. Or maybe that's just what I want to have happen.
They weren't waterboarded, they were gold-boarded.
Exactly. Okay, we'll continue on that note. You have been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We'll be back next week, assuming there's something exciting and new to talk about, and probably even if there's not. I am your host, Flux, and thanks to AdAstra and Master X. And at this point of the show, we say what the secret cow level did not say, which is...
Moo!
Moo moo. Moo. Moo moo moo.
Moo!
Moo moo.